Hey everybody, this is Tracy Panase with Just Between Friends, and I would like to thank you for signing up to be a part of the JBF Clothing and Shoe Inspection Team for one of our upcoming events. I'm going to go through some general information about helping at the sale, and then we'll delve into the process related to what's acceptable and what's not acceptable when it comes to clothing and shoes for the fall sale. Just some general information. We do ask that you arrive 15 minutes before your shift. You will check in as well as check out at the team member table. And at that team member table, you'll be given a name badge and an apron. You will be standing during inspection for the most part. We do have a couple of sit down jobs, so if you need or prefer to be seated, please see me or see your team leader, and we can certainly accommodate you. But we do suggest that you wear comfortable clothing and especially comfortable shoes. Leave any valuables at home or locked safely in your car. And if you do need any snacks during your shift, we do have a small refrigerator. There's also water available to all of our team members in the office. So let's get into the process of what happens when people come to drop off. All consigners check in at the front desk and then they're given instruction and paperwork to proceed to inspection. By the time they get to you, they should have a sticker somewhere on them. One of the stickers is yellow, it says I've checked in, or there's another sticker which is pink, which says that they are a perfect consigner or they had perfect inspection. If you do not see one of those two stickers somewhere on your consigner, then they somehow bypassed check-in. So you need to redirect them because that's the only way that we can point their tags to our sale, which is really important. So look for that sticker first, and then the consigner should give you a brightly colored drop-off card. And so you're going to hold on to that, but each consigner should have that readily available for you. One of the first things you're going to look for if you're doing the clothing inspection is just some really basic things, and there's really three things. One, all clothing must be on hangers. The only exception to that is onesies or sleepers for under 24 months, and those can go in a Ziploc bag. We are not looking at anything in a Ziploc bag. So if they start to throw their Ziploc bags on a table, you can say to them, that's great. However, we're only inspecting hanging clothing items. All of their hangers do need to be facing the same direction, and that's forming a question mark with the opening to the left. And the tag should be on the right-hand side or towards the middle of the garment. If they used a tag gun, we suggest closer to the middle. And then the tags should be printed on white or very lightly colored cardstock. So like an ivory cardstock is okay, but if you get somebody coming through your line that has red or neon green, that's when you want to find your team leader so we can make sure those tags are going to scan. This is a fall-winter event, so there are some specific seasonal clothing guidelines that are in effect. The clothing that you're looking at needs to be seasonally appropriate except for maternity. For maternity, we will take spring and summer items as well as fall-winter. And the basic rule of thumb is we're looking for things that your child would generally wear between September and April. For our spring sale, we're looking for April to September. There is some gray area, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But some of the more obvious things, no shorts, swimsuits, no really light colors or pastels, or fabric such as linen, which is really specifically designed for warmer weather. We do not accept short sleeves over 24 months unless it's something like a polo shirt, so not necessarily Ralph Lauren, but a short sleeved collar shirt that could be worn as a school uniform. We also will take short sleeves for a sports team that only plays in the fall, or graphic t-shirts for bigger kids up to size 10. And so generally those brands include things like American Eagle, Aeropostale, Abercrombie, that bigger kids, tweens and teens are most likely to wear. Jeans are certainly okay, as are capris or boyfriend jeans that might not necessarily be full length. Holiday themes between Halloween and Easter are also okay, so even if some of those items are short sleeves, that would be fine. We take up to size 18 for boys and juniors for girls. So if you see men's clothing or women's clothing, that is not something that we accept at the sale. Um, for juniors, those are brands that are size 0 to 7, or sometimes they're extra, extra small to medium. For juniors, we do only take certain name brands, and you will have at your inspection table what those name brands are. So there is a limit of 10 juniors and also a limit of 10 maternity. And as I said before, maternity can be for all seasons, and no extra large clothing, which is marked as maternity. So what does some of this look like when you're being thrown all this clothing? What are some of the things that you want to be looking for? You're going to be looking for the obvious things, right? So these are things, all three of these items, you would generally expect your kid to wear this between September and April. Those are fairly obvious. But what's out? So here are some summary things. This long sleeve cardigan, although it is long sleeve, this is paired with a white dress, which is really obviously for spring or summer. Some of this stuff is fairly obvious as well. This Lego t-shirt is not really what we would classify as a graphic tee, and it's not size 10 or up. So this would be appropriate for spring, but not necessarily appropriate for the fall sale. There are some gray areas. So some of these items, these are both either no sleeve or cap sleeve, but the fabrics are such that a typical little girl would wear these over the holidays. So these are fine. The Abercrombie t-shirt, that's considered a graphic tee. It's a size 12. That is okay. And then, as I said before, the polo shirts of all sizes are also acceptable. So if you have questions, and you most certainly will, your inspection team leader will be able to assist you and be able to provide guidance. So as you're reviewing the items that your customer brings in, the inspection process kind of flows like this. You'll review the clothing and you will push items forward. All the clothing is going to come to you on a rack, a rolling rack, and as you're scanning them and you accept them, you will push them forward. You can place the unacceptable items at the ends of the rack. So on each of the ends of the racks, you can pull out, you can extend the rack, and then on that little section is where you can pull the unacceptable items. You don't need to explain yourself to the customer for each item that you're pulling. It's best to wait to do that at the end, because the whole goal here is to not only be thorough, but to also be fast, because we want those lines at inspection to move very quickly so that consigners can get in and out of there without too much trouble. At the conclusion of the inspection, you want to congratulate the consignor for all the great items that they brought to the sale. And if there are some unacceptable items, you can explain. Perhaps they were short sleeves, or it was an adult shirt, or something that was just, maybe it was a swimsuit. And then you will tie those items together. So all the hangers of the items that were unaccepted, tie them together with landscape tape. And then explain to the consignor that if they were rejected for seasonality, they can bring them back without the need to retag. You want to keep the rejected items and ask them to pick those up on their way out. So this little blurb says bring them back in the fall. That should really say bring them back in the spring if it's not accepted because it was more appropriate for spring. So the rejected items we keep because we don't want those getting out on the sales floor, and then they're going to go and put all of their accepted items in. One of the other reasons why we reject clothing is because of the condition. So some of the things that you're looking for as it relates to condition are no rips, stains, tears, or excessive wear. You want to pay close attention to the neck of infant clothing for any type of formula stains. Make sure that all the zippers zip, buttons are intact, and snap. And if your customer comes to you and they don't have the zipper zipped, ask them to be doing that while you're looking through their other items. It'll save everybody a bit of time. The clothing does need to look and smell good. So if it has excessive smoke or pet odor, that's something that we're unable to take because lots of kids have allergies, and that smell permeates through the rack, and we certainly don't want that. And then you do want to look for excessive pilling on PJs. So here's some examples of what I mean by that. Here's some pilling. This is on a nylon fabric. This would not be acceptable. Obviously, here's some staining on here. This is also very light color. This would not be accepted because of the seasonality. And then, as I said, the formula stains on infant clothing is something that we see a lot of. So take your time, kind of look through that. If someone comes to you with one of those pink stickers on, that means that they are a perfect consignor. So when they went through inspection in the spring, they had 3 or less items that were rejected. So for perfect consignors, you're just quickly scanning their items. And the key to what I just said is quickly, because they've earned the privilege of not going through full inspection. So you're mostly looking for seasonality to make sure that there are no short sleeves and that things are appropriate for fall and winter. And then you might want to spot check like 1 or 2 items to make sure that they look good, smell good, and all that stuff. But for perfect consignors, you are not looking at every single item. You're just scanning that. For anybody with a yellow sticker, you're doing a more thorough inspection and reviewing all of the things that I just mentioned. Your final steps in this process are back to the colored inspection card. You're going to write on the card that the tags were printed on the correct cardstock, yes or no. The hangers were correct, yes or no. Your name, the number of rejected items, and then you will ask the consignor if they brought any shoes to the sale. If they brought any shoes, all of their shoes are going to go into one of these white buckets. Just dump all their shoes in there. And again, they can be doing this while you're inspecting their items to kind of make things go a little bit faster. You'll take their shoes and the inspection card, and that will go over to the shoe inspection area. Your consignor is now done with you. So they are on their way. Their shoes are going over to the shoe inspection area. And you want to just give them a couple of little reminders as they're leaving you. You want to remind the consignor to pick up any of their rejected items on their way out. Also, they will be able to pick up their pre-sale passes as they exit the building with their rejected clothing and shoes. You want to ask the consignor if they brought anything with a polyfill, such as a boppy, a car seat, a stroller, an activity mat. If so, they need to go to the sanitation area, and all of that stuff does need to be sprayed. And above all, inspection can be a really kind of challenging situation sometimes because a lot of times consignors are tired. They've been up tagging late, doing last minute prep for the sale, and it can be a little bit of a blow to your ego to have items that are rejected. Also, our perfect consignors take their status very seriously. So if you start pulling stuff out of a perfect consignor's loot, they get a little bit sensitive to that. So be kind, be helpful, and if your customer starts to get a little bit aggressive, that's something that you should not be involved in. You need to find me or the inspection team leader, and we are certainly happy to assist the customers. So once they're done with the clothing inspection, you can tell them they can go and place their items out onto the sales floor, and a separate team will be handling shoe inspection. And we'll just kind of go through some of the guidelines for shoe inspection. Shoe condition, shoes need to be new or gently worn. This is a resale environment, so a little bit of wear and tear is okay. We want to be picky, but yet we need to be reasonable. Anything with excessive scuff marks, rips, or overly dirty are things that we would deem as unacceptable. Athletic cleats and dance shoes will have a little bit more wear and tear than everyday shoes. So just kind of use good judgment and discretion when evaluating athletic shoes versus a regular pair of sneakers that you might be wearing to school. And then shoes must be appropriately sized for children and appropriately styled for kids. So we do not take over a size 5.5 for big kids, which is equivalent to a 7.5 for adults. So if you get a 7.5 for adults and it's appropriate for a child, that's fine. If you get a 7.5 for an adult, that's like a stiletto heel. Although the size is okay, the style is not something that most children would wear. So that would be deemed unacceptable. Just like clothing, shoes need to be seasonally appropriate. So anything such as sandals, open-toed shoes, flip-flops, or swim shoes are out for this sale. But Crocs are okay. Sometimes Crocs seem a little bit questionable, but kids do seem to wear those all the time with socks. Sneakers, dance, and athletic shoes, any sort of closed-toed shoes are okay for this sale. We will take both rain boots and snow boots, and roller skates and ice skates are also fine. In terms of condition, this can be a little bit subjective. So here's some general guidelines as to what's in. So these shoes, both of these shoes on the left-hand side of my screen do have a little bit of wear and tear. You can see there's, a little bit of the rubber is not there on the toe. Same thing with these suede shoes. You can see a little bit of wear, but generally they're in good condition. The soles look really good. All the Velcro is there. So these would be acceptable. These are big boy shoes, but they are undersized 7.5 for an adult. So they would also be okay, and they're in great condition. Some of the things that are out, these shoes would be appropriate for the fall, but the shoelaces are all frayed. You can see the toes are really not in good shape. Obviously, these shoes are out on several levels. Number one, they're filthy dirty. And number two, they're open-toed. So we would not accept something like this. Kind of the gray area with shoes comes into the toe and heel marks. If the leather is really torn up so that you couldn't use shoe polish over it, or just kind of clean it up with a magic eraser, then those would be things that are not acceptable. So again, if you have questions about that, it's good to consult with the team leader just to get a second opinion as to whether or not it's okay. Some other examples of what's in and what's out. Here are some sandals, which are in perfect condition, but those would not be something your child would wear between September and April. And then again, you don't want the excessively dirty shoes. Rain boots, as I said, are okay. However, these rain boots are not okay because the lining is ripped and damaged, and then these particular shoes would be considered the wrong season. We do have some supplies in the shoe inspection area. This is not something that I expect our team members to do, but you can tell the consignor when they come back that they can clean their items up. You can see these Crocs on the left-hand side. This is how they came in. So they're dirty. Using a magic eraser on the right-hand side is what they look like. These are perfectly sellable on the right. So they just take a little bit of extra time, chances are good that we can sell them. Same thing with these Oshkosh shoes. There's a lot of dirt in that sole, so we have some brushes, and so that they can just kind of give those shoes a once over so that we can sell them. The final steps with the shoe inspection, there is a shoe inspection report. You would just write on here, this is a carbonated form, so the number of shoes that you rejected for wear and tear, wrong season, or wrong size, and then place the total number here. All of their shoes are coming into you together in these white these laundry baskets. So their rejected shoes are going to go on the reject table in that same laundry basket with this slip. You'll keep their colored inspection card, and then they will get I believe it's pink copy of the duplicate of the shoe inspection report, so they can easily find their shoes and be on their way once they leave. So here's a recap of those steps. You're going to place those shoes in the basket, take them to the reject table, and then all of the shoes that are accepted go in IKEA bags or boxes around the room by size and by gender. So we'll have on one side of the room girls' shoes starting with size 0 all the way up to size 5 for big girls. Same thing with the boys. And as they're being inspected, we're throwing them in those bags so that we can quickly and easily put them out onto the sales floor once we have all the bags are full, and we do that periodically throughout the day. The consignors will not be putting away their shoes. We will put away all shoes. So I thank you for the role that you're going to play in the success of our sale. As I said, the inspection leaders for shoes and clothing are really critical to our reputation, and I appreciate the time that you took to review this video. See you soon.